I'm Ryan Milton from TeamFFLEX, and today we're going to dive into the Pittsburgh Pro Wellness division. We're going to look at our top 10 competitors from this competition, go over the placings, why they may have landed the way they did, and give you insights into criteria, where things are heading 2025. So those of you out there that are trying to compete in wellness, wanting to compete in wellness, or are going to get really good insight into what the criteria is right now, what judges are looking for, and what you need to be focused on. And again, my videos, they're always for every level, okay? So it doesn't matter if you've never competed before, you've been trying to get a pro card, you're doing a couple of local competitions, or you're already a pro. I give you the stuff that you need to know on this channel to do better on stage at any level. And that's exactly what we do here. So if you like that, subscribe, hang out, plenty more coming. I promise you, it's going to be great. Let's dive into it. So here we have our Pro Wellness Top 10 from Pittsburgh Pro. In first place, we have Valkyria. Over here in second, we have Rayanne. And over here in third, we have Leonida, okay? And these are our top 3 competitors at this event. We'll look at all the way down to top 10. This is, in fact, the second time I've recorded this video, because our first one, I saw a lot of comments of you guys waiting like, hey, where's the wellness? Where's the wellness? Our first one did not work right on this new setup, right? So I recorded like a literal 40-minute video and we weren't able to use it. So again, just give me a thumbs up if you appreciate this work that I'm doing here for you to give you better insight again for the second video. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Valkyria, right? As you can see, Valkyria, this is one of her better looks that she's brought to stage, okay? Shoulders are in pretty much the exact right space for wellness right now, where they have the fullness, they have that size, that shape, but they're not overdone. The key to a wellness physique is making sure your lower body always takes the show, okay? You want to make sure that lower body, no doubt, is what everybody in the audience is looking at, from the first-time competitor out there to the judges at the table that have seen thousands and thousands of competitors. You want your lower body to really stand out. So for Valkyria, she really does lock down that look where the lower body does look dominant. Her upper body, it still has that muscle and that shape and that size, but it's not overdone. And if you look at this right here and you're watching the audience, you're like, I don't know, Coach Ryan, those are looking like pretty big delts. Wait until we get down the rest of these call-outs, because I promise you, they are not very big delts compared to the rest of our groups here. So she's got that good shoulder fullness, good shape up top. Biceps and triceps are something I always say, competitors in wellness need to be watching out for. You do. If you are competing in wellness, do not let your bicep and tricep get overdone. Do not let it become overdominant. Do not let it become too developed. If you do that, it's going to be game over, right? Because what ends up happening is your upper body just starts to look too dominant. You will not score favorably, right? She does not have that problem where bicep and tricep look in good harmony and symmetry to what's going on with the shoulder, and that really does create this upper body look here that enhances that taper. So where she really excels here is not only does she have the good muscle structure up top, judges are going to be looking for, she has a very narrow waist effect, okay? So totally flat stomach, dials in the waist here 100%, creates a great tapered look for the upper body. Your upper body in wellness, especially in the pro league, is basically what bikini upper body looks like. It's vice versa, similar right there. Everything's there. I mean, wellness, really the biggest differential is the lower body. So this is where she comes in and showcases very, very well. So glute structure, glutes from the front, as I say, in wellness division, you want to have it, that size, that development, the upper glute here, overall that size needs to match. And then you want to let the quads take the party as much as you can in this front pose. And so, she really does have that lower body dominant look, a great amount of muscle. And overall, it ties together very, very well to showcase this is wellness. This is a wellness physique. I will say this is not a mass monster wellness look that we have been seeing, right? And as we go down this call out, you will see that. Like some previous seasons, I talk about it all the time on this channel, seemed like wellness was getting like to mutant level of like, PED usage and, steroid usage and just size overall. This seems to be a turn for a different look right now, right? We start to see these competitors here not looking as big, not looking as muscular in general, not going to that point where it's a better look for wellness. I really think it is. I really do think overall that's a much better overall look for wellness division here. Conditioning wise, we'll notice too, she does not have a lot of overdone shreds and, you know, deep cuts and veins and grains and things like that. She does have some, because this is right where the conditioning for wellness division should be. Softer levels of conditioning, okay? Before Fit Model, bikini and wellness was the softest level of condition in the women's divisions. It doesn't mean you're soft. It doesn't mean you got a lot of body fat. It means out of those tiers, you know, moving up into figure, women's physique, fitness, bodybuilding, this is the softest we get, right? But now Fit Model is that. However, this is a softer look in general for wellness, and it's the one that's winning a very prominent pro competition, right? So overall, pretty compact muscle in the upper body, tapers in very well. Lower body is clearly dominant, and conditioning is not overdone, not underdone. Very complete look for Valkyria here in this front. It really just ties together super well. All right, let's pull Rayanne in, okay? So Rayanne's one of those competitors. She has a great wellness look. Obviously, we know that. Looking side by side, though, instantly, and I think even you all watching, whether maybe this is even the first review of mine you've watched, you can tell she did come bigger and leaner than Valkyria. And that's the Rayanne look. Rayanne does that really, really well. Honestly, she has downsized her physique a bit here for this event compared to some other ones we've seen at, and she is bringing, honestly, a little bit softer condition. If you were looking at some of her competitions and reviews I've done before this, you know, years ago, she was always huge up top, very developed in the shoulders, a lot of, you know, shreds down here in the abs, a lot of shreds into the quads. She always came very big and very lean. So even here still, she comes a little bit bigger than Valkyria does, a little bit leaner, but still very toned down for Rayanne, and she's pulling second here. So that is a very good indicator. Again, this wellness criteria continues to move in these ways where the mass monster size, the mass mutant, you know, conditioning is going away. So for Rayanne, a little bit of that shoulder development here, very good for this division, you know, on par. She does give me a little bit more of that bicep and tricep look. You start to see just a little, not too much. Very, very close. You know, this is a very quality physique for wellness, very good representation of criteria. Tapers in well at the waist, showcases here very, very well, and the lower body muscles clearly there. You can see the density in the quads and in the glutes, the size and the fullness, okay? So what stands out as the different factor? You know, she really does pull it together all very, very well. What I think right away, a little bit leaner, just a little bit leaner. Let's pull them here so we can see them both. Just a little bit leaner, right? And you start to see those markers through the abs and things like this. So abdominals, that's something I get asked about as a coach all the time. Do I need abs and, you know, bikini and wellness, whatever? No, not specifically. Some athletes have six-pack abs because, you know, maybe they train a certain way, or I've seen it where they just have it genetically, but you do not need it. If you have it, it's either going to help or it's going to hurt. You'll notice Valkyria, our winner, she doesn't have six-pack abs. Rayanne does. In a lot of ways, you know, I've talked to many judges, as I do as part of my job as a coach, and they have told me before, you know, looking at the abs, you can easily see if a competitor is too lean by looking at the abs. If they're showing a hard six-pack, you know, that could be an indicator for judges. They start to investigate a little bit further. They go, huh, is she actually too lean? What's going on with that, right? So she's definitely got that, and she starts to see just a little bit more separation in the quads here and, you know, a little bit more split there, and she just came a little bit leaner. I think very on par with her overall size. Her shoulders, even though she toned them down, they could actually use just a little bit more pop. I don't think it's more size, a little bit more fullness maybe to bring to this level here of Valkyria. Either way, very close. When you're looking at top two at a pro event, I mean, come on. We're talking about the criteria at that point. Now let's look at Leonida over here. She is in third, Leonida, whatever you want to say with it. I'm, you know, pronouncing the names as best I can here. She comes in third, and, you know, we look at this right away. Super quality, good look for her overall. It does tie together pretty well in the shoulders, tapers in here at the waist, very good. Overall, glute structures there, quad structures there. She is obviously, you can tell, just much more lean, right? So a lot leaner here, leaner overall in that. And, you know, with that, we see some more splits in the quads, more splits in the glutes, more of the abdominals here, deeper cuts into the obliques. So, you know, very on par again, muscle-wise, not as much fullness in the up top again here, but, you know, leaner and moving down in the call-outs. These leaner wellness athletes, I'm telling you, at all the pro shows I've looked at and amateurs this year, this season, 2025, we are trending different. I'm telling you, we're trending different. We're moving a bit away from the bigger, leaner looks in pretty much every of the women's divisions, and it's a good thing in my opinion, if you ask me. All right, now we got to go take a look at the back though, because as I always say, you know, nothing is done till we get to the back pose, we get the full story, and here is where it is. So let's look at Valkyria. She overall has a very, very wellness dominant look. You can tell right away, like the first thing you should see when a wellness competitor does their back pose is going to be quads and glutes. You're looking at the lower body here. This is like what should stand out 100%. If that's not the first place your eyes go, and by nature looking at this from the audience or from a judging table, it's probably an indicator the upper body is overdone. For her, no. I mean, it's clear. When you're looking at this pose, you see a lot of quad development that sweeps from the back. We see super developed upper glute structure, just that fullness, that roundness overall, glute density, tie-in separation that is basically absolutely perfect for this division right here. Slight separation between glutes and hamstring tie-in, overall hamstring development, really just a totally showcase wellness look, maximizes on the muscle, hits perfect on the condition, and upper body, yeah, we get a little bit of shoulders, nothing too crazy, nothing in the arms here that's distracting. This is a super dominant wellness look for her, no doubt a slam dunk win, where conditioning and muscle is just totally perfected, and we'll see as we move down, big differences, big changes as we go through here. So looking at Rayanne now, the shoulder development here, you can see just a little bit of it tapers in well. Lower body wise though, we're not getting nearly as much pop from her glutes, right? So this is something that can happen again where, you diet down too much, things like this maybe, where you can start to flatten out actual muscles in the glutes. So she is a bit leaner. Maybe that's the key. Maybe it was a little bit, but it's just definitely not coming full circle to the point where Valkyria is, where she's got these 3D, totally popping muscularities going on here. Rayanne is not pulling that same depth from the back pose. So with that, she's still got great structure of the quads and the hamstrings, everything else. Good tie-in, condition is all there. Not as much pop coming from the muscles. Really key in wellness. That lower body's got to pop, and you got to find it in every single angle. If you don't have it, trust me, the judges, they're going to find it. They're going to know. So Leonida here, she pulls together a very strong back pose overall. And if we look here, we can see good shoulder shape. Everything's there. Tapers in at the waist, ties in for this good structure. And lower body, it's all there. A lot of good muscle in the quads and the hamstrings. What we're not getting as much of is a balance between the glutes and the quads and the hamstrings, right? So a lot of times on these wellness competitors, and this happens very much so at the NPC level. So if you're watching this and you're like, this is so far beyond the muscularity I have, doesn't matter. I see this every day with NPC competitors that come train with me. They're coming in and they're like, hey, here's my wellness physique. What do we need to work on? I'm like, well, we got a little bit of a muscle imbalance going because, right, what ends up happening here, if you look, very developed quads, a lot of, hamstring here. The glutes, even though very developed and popping a lot, coming out, good overall structure, shape, everything, they look a bit smaller and under compared to what's going on with the quads and the hamstrings. So again, a lot more prominent on amateurs. Still obviously very great wellness quality physique. Third place at a pro show, nothing to scoff at. Just giving you further insight, right? That can be a factor. Judges do want to see a bit more of that balance and that symmetry where the glutes would match the quads, match the hamstrings, being a lot more symmetry and harmony at that point. So even though wellness is in fact the only asymmetrical women's division, it is still a division where you do want to see across the board that symmetry occur in the lower body. And again, you put these side by side and it's worlds apart in a lot of ways. What we see here going on there as far as symmetry, structure, glute development, hamstrings, quads versus what's going on here in third, okay? So a lot of different muscularities and looks going on the wellness stage. And if you've made it with me this far and you're learning a lot, you're wondering a lot, you're like, what's next? What do I need to figure out? Go check out my free coaching trial here, okay? Just grab your phone, type this in, teamfflex.com/7-day trial. You get to train with me free for 7 days, okay? You can upload photos. I can give you feedback on your physique. I can, design you custom workouts. It's free for 7 days. No obligation to buy anything. You're not putting credit card info in. It's not one of those things you do the free 7 days and you automatically get charged. I hate that stuff. We don't do that. What I'm doing here is giving you an ability to get 1,000 times better experience. You watch the YouTube, you learn stuff, you're like, wow, I like this. I didn't know that about glutes. I didn't know that about shoulders. Let me show you in the real world way. Like as I'm your coach, free for 7 days. It's so much better. Just do that. Pick up your phone now. Come on. If you've been watching this channel and you haven't done that, do it. And if you are here for the first time, do it. You will not regret it. Okay, check it out. All right, let's move down our list. Fourth and fifth. So we're going to leave Valkyria right in the middle here, and we're going to go down into fourth place, Cass. Cassandra here, and then we will go over here into Lisa in 5th. So 4th and 5th as we go down. Keep in mind that we'll be doing 10, and we're going to get through it. Let's go to Cass. So Cass is one of those physiques where she can really have a lot of muscle, a lot of hard looks, and she does. So we've seen it at many events. She's one of those competitors I always get a very upper body dominant look. She has toned down her look for this event. So again, not only are we seeing, the judging criteria seem to shift away from the very big muscular upper bodies, wellness looks, the super shred lean. We're seeing some of the competitors that did have those at times changing their looks as well. Because, Cass, she is one of the ones that I did always get a little bit of an upper body for. Like, go look at her previous physiques from Arnold and things like that. I mean, she always was very, very big, upper body dominant, and very lean. She's still lean and big here, but she has changed her look and her symmetry a bit to kind of, try to fit, I think, what is really doing well in wellness right now. So overall, better for her. Shoulder, upper body, arms, muscle structure up top. Overall, that's toned down. That's toned down from what we normally see. And she's not bringing as much condition. She did soften her condition a bit here, which is good as well for her overall look. Now, lower body-wise, she always stands out because she has a lot of muscle and a lot of muscle density, right? But looking at her overall physique, it is definitely better than, we've seen previous versions of her that were very, very big, very, very lean. This new direction for where wellness seems to be heading right now, this fits very well. Still tad lean, a lot of splits and cuts going on in the quads here, some veins in the arms and things like this that you start to see with these leaner looks. And still maybe just a little bit upper body dominant here from at least the front because, we start to see this where it looks a little bit more symmetrical to what's going on down here. But overall, again, just trying to give you all further insight into these placings. All great examples of criteria for sure when we're looking at a pro event. But when you look at this side by side, okay, I mean, we're looking at a little bit more of a compact here. We're looking at a little bit more of a compacted look over here with, what's going on in this muscle here. A lot of shape on this wellness physique. And over here, we got a lot more muscle and leanness, right? And that's the difference of 4th and 5th right there. So pretty interesting to see as we go down this list here. So now we're going to take a look at Lisa. So Lisa's one of these athletes here where, you look at it, good shoulder shape overall, seems to be about where it should be right here. Tapers in at the waist very well, lower body, a lot of glute density and size here, a lot of quads and muscle. She's got a little bit of that smaller frame look, compacts that shape very, very well. Conditioning looks really, really on par here. Maybe could just be a tad tighter, just pull a couple more lines through in that lower body, but overall, very good condition, very good size and shape. What is the difference? Not as much muscle, just not as much size overall going on. If we look at Valkyria to Lisa, that's what we're going to see. Valkyria's got bigger quad sweep. She's got more muscle density in her glutes. She's got more in the shoulders. So again, a totally nailed look for Lisa, honestly. Just not as much size as the competitors above her in this call out, in this lineup. So that's one of those areas where, it's not only just about the shape. It's not only about the condition. It's also about development too as we go. As I always say, though, got to get to the back. We got to see what the full situation's looking like. When we're looking at the front, we're only looking at part of the story. And especially in wellness, we got to always go to the back. So Cass from the back here, less in the shoulders than we normally see. It's good. We don't want as much. Still a bit more, though, than our first place even or anyone else above her. So, again, I think she's still bringing a little bit more of that shoulder forward look. And that's a thing in wellness where you can look a little bit more symmetrical, right, if you have that. From the back here, big quads, a lot of density in the hamstrings, good glute tie-in, upper glute development, overall glute development is there. Good symmetry, it seems. Quads may be a tad, too dominant, especially compared to what we're looking at here next to our first, right, where that's not really the case. Her quads definitely stand out quite a bit more than her glutes do. But overall, again, what I'm going to say, very lean. Like, we're seeing feathering and stuff in the calves. We're seeing a lot of cuts through the hams and tie-ins, even some veins here. She's super lean. So, again, the leaner looks in wellness not really being favored. You won't see any of that on Valkyria. We see the lines where it should be. Everything's coming together. Not super, shredded lean, though, in the same way. So, Cass definitely a little bit leaner, placing a little bit lower there. But overall, still, very, very competitive event here. Great examples to all these women here, and great physiques overall. Lisa, now this is where we get to see that good shoulder shape, tapers in here, you know, comes to the lower body. Honestly, very complete look. You know, it is, everything is here. Upper glute development, overall, the tie-in, it's all there. It's a completed look. What's the difference? Muscle mass. That's what we see right here. You know, looking at this, which is 1st to 5th, big muscle mass difference. More size overall, you know. So again, it's still bodybuilding, folks. That's something that a lot of competitors lose sight of, especially amateurs, right? They get stuck in like chasing the shreds, which granted, that's not what's happening here in this situation. I'm just giving you an analogy from what I know coaching. You get so caught up in chasing the shreds and these ideas of where you got to be that you forget a lot is really about the muscle, and especially in wellness, where it is a very muscular division. All right, let's go down our 6th and 7th here. So we have Sherry 6th, and then we have Winter over here in 7th. Let's keep going. We're going to leave Valkyria right where she is. I always say as we go down the call out, you know, you start to see a little bit more where, you know, these divisions are really heading, how shows are going, what, you know, the look is. Because the difference from 1st to like 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, that's a big difference, right? We start to see it. So Sherry here, instantly, what do you guys get as the viewer, right? Comment it. What are you getting right here as we look at number 6, or 6th place here? You're getting upper body. I know you are, right? That's a lot of upper body on this physique here for her. She's got a lot of that shoulder shape, that size, and the arms, bicep, tricep. You know, you do get, of course, when we look down here, lower body, great overall quality in the midsection, tapers in very well. But when you are a wellness competitor and you have that upper body look coming through, it is a signal of dominance up top, and you can get what we're kind of getting here. Looks a little symmetrical, right? Like this is a symmetrical physique. It is not a lower body dominant, like, oh, that is super wellness right there. So we'll get to the back. You know, conditioning is very good. Everything's there, but like that's a big difference looking here side by side, 1st to 6th. Okay, so that's one of those things that, again, wellness competitors, watch your upper bodies. Don't let it in. Sometimes, honestly, it's just posing. Sometimes you don't even have that. You're like, oh, my shoulders are not that big, but you posed a little different, and they looked real big, right? So let's look at Winter now. Winter, so far, 7th place, and the biggest upper body development we're seeing so far. So a lot of shoulder size, biceps and tricep size, a lot of it. And, you know, very upper body forward muscle look there. Placed in 7th. So we're moving down in the callouts. The bigger, leaner athletes, especially upper body wise, are placing lower, right? And she's not too lean, but definitely too much muscle in the upper body, probably, at least compared to what's going on down here. Lower body looks good, midsection looks good, everything's there. Conditioning, honestly, is pretty good. Just a lot of muscle going on up top that kind of throws off the overall symmetry of that wellness look, that wellness physique. So our 6th and our 7th, definitely upper body forward. And that's a big statement from judges, if you ask me, as you move down these placings. All right, let's go to the back, because we always say we got to get all of that in there to see the full story. So what we'll see is Sherry, again, very symmetrical look for her, you know, good, everything's there, but it's bigger, it's too big, a little bit in the shoulders, lower body wise, quads and glutes. What we also do see here as we go with the glutes, hamstrings, and quads, everything looks good lower body wise, but definitely less developed, like in a big way from the first. So judges, again, really going for that muscle lower body look right now, like that 3D total pop, full development of glutes. That's what we could see here. You know, she's a little bit under in the glutes compared to the quads, even the hamstrings, even less muscle lower body overall, too much up top. So again, that's a wellness look that is not as wellness as it could be because of those things. If we look over at Winter, we're getting a very lean look from her right away. You know, you can see a lot of that. You can even see the biceps and triceps here, even a little coming through from the back position. So, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot of upper body muscle. And, you know, her quads and her hamstrings pull away from what the glutes are doing. The glutes look a little bit under, even though the good shape, overall upper glute, tie-ins, everything's there. It does seem to look a little bit underdeveloped comparatively. So very big quads, a lot of muscle. But again, even then, nowhere near the same development going on here. So that's a big, big statement from judges. Lower body dominance, very much key. It's almost, you know, what we've known forever and we talk about all the time, but we're seeing this criteria really pull back to the original place where it started, 2020, okay? And I think it's a great thing. If you think it's a good thing, comment it down below right now. Do you like the way wellness is moving? Or would you prefer more of the bigger look that, you know, I call the mass monster look, things like that, the super shredded lean, just huge, huge athletes? Let me know. All right, now we're gonna go to our 8th and our 9th. So we have Sandra and we have Jasmine, 8th and 9th here. Very interesting, right? Because if you've been watching the channel, we have reviewed Sandra recently as a winner of overall, the pro event. She won the entire event at some events recently, right? Here, she takes 8th. So interestingly enough, you know, I think we start to see some differences going on in her physique. And if you didn't watch those videos yet, go watch those. You'll get a lot of what I'm saying a lot more in depth. She does have good shoulder shape for this division, great taper into the waist, lower body looks good. Everything is there. I mean, this is a very, her look. For me though, what she brought here is a little bit less of that muscle density overall, and conditioning appears a tad softer than it has in previous events. So what ends up happening is you just kind of look softer overall. And for that, you know, either way, whether that's a peak protocol or doing too many shows a season or whatever it is, it does not look the same as what's going on at first, which is a lot of muscle density here, a lot of lower body, fullness. This is a little bit flatter of a look, a little bit less fullness there, and overall not as much pop just coming from that physique. So a lot of ways that that really does happen there. We'll go to the back in a second and get the full story. Jasmine, she's one of those, she's taking 9th here. She's one of those athletes, always very upper body, right? I see her competing a lot. I've reviewed her physique a lot. I always get a lot of muscle from her look, and it's good, but it's also a lot up top. So probably the biggest upper body we've seen so far, 9th on stage, right? So pretty clear message from judges, okay? Wellness competitors, do not be overdoing the upper bodies, okay? Especially in the amateurs. I see it way more in the amateurs than I do the pro league, and it's because, you know, wellness competitors are out there, oh, I just got to lift heavy legs, I got to do this, that, and I'll train upper shoulder. You really, like when I'm dialing in a training program for a wellness competitor, it is every set, rep, and exercise in consideration of where those shoulders are going to be, where those biceps, triceps are going to be, how is that looking to be, and, you know, same going on for the lower body. So really important to remember that. And looking here, what we can see, you know, just a lot of upper body shape, size, too much for this division. Tapers in well. She's got good lower body size and shape. She always has a lot of muscle, but, you know, the upper body, I think, just throws it off. It really makes it a very muscle dominant upper top look there, and that is not wellness division, as at least in the 100% way they want to see it right now. So Sandra here, again, bit more of a depleted look for her, right? Like still get a little bit of that size from the shoulders, tapers in here, but not as much going on overall, not as much pop to her physique as we've seen before. And that's what happens when you compete at a lot of shows. You know, a lot of times you can miss a peak, your body doesn't respond the same, things like that start to happen. I see it all the time. So what ends up happening here is, you know, she's still got the good shape overall, but glutes look a little bit flat, look depleted, not as much 3D coming from that tie-in. Overall, I mean, you just look at first compared to that, you know, it's a big difference because we got a lot more of that 3D, a lot more pop coming from the glutes over here, the quads and hamstrings versus what's going on over here. And, you know, that's interesting to say because she has won competitions even recently. But that's how the sport goes, folks, by the way. You got to make sure, you know, like you get judged on stage that day and how you look that day, how those things feel that day up against those competitors on that day. Competitors, I always know, looking at social media, like scrolling through, trying to figure out who they're going to compete. You're wasting your time looking at other shows, seeing where this division's going. No, you need to get on stage. You need to compete, get feedback, and go again, okay? Jasmine, very muscle dominant look, a lot of muscle up top, a lot of muscle here in the quads, the glutes tie in, overall, you know, good glute shape here. Everything's there. The lower body, honestly, is very, very dense and really good shape. It's just the upper body, you know, she has so much shoulders, so much bicep, tricep that it makes the look too symmetrical, right? We start to, like if I was to trace lines here, right, this looks more like a hourglassy type physique, not a super lower dominant type of an hourglass, which is what really we need, right? So Last one we want to look at today, and this is top 10. Let me know if you're liking these. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep trying to pump out more and more videos here for you. Subscribe, check out the free trial if you didn't yet. It's crazy, especially if you made it this far. If you watch this long and you're like, I like this. Free trial, check it out. Sophie coming to the lineup, last one of our group here today. So overall, good shoulders here, arms size there, everything is there. Too much up top though. Again, it's a big shoulder forward look for her. Lower body wise, good dominance. In the glutes, quads seem to be a bit under from this shot. So overall, again, just a lot of good shape, not as much muscle, not as much balance going on, not as much of a dramatic taper in. There's a lot of things, but conditioning seems to be pretty on par here. Maybe a tad lean up top. Looks to be a little bit uneven, which is something you see with some competitors sometimes, especially in the amateurs. Overall, though, let's take a look at the back and see, because that's always the full story. And there's where you really do see it, right? So upper body seems to be in a good spot here. Lower body just does not have the same amount of size, muscle density as even the upper, but especially not compared to the first place winner here. So more glute overall, more upper glute total density there. Pull through the tie-ins some more, add some more size to the quads, the hamstrings. You start to really see what is winning on wellness stages right now. And that appears to be a divert back to, 2020 wellness, where again, we got kind of wild with some of the looks for a bit, right? We were getting a little bit crazy with some of the big monster looks, and it seemed like that was where the division was going. Well, I've been saying that I think they pulled it back to the root, and I'm going to stand by that. As this season continues to carve out, they are pulling it back to a very lower body dominant look. Good shoulder size, good development overall, great tapers in, super dramatic V-tapered look with a lot of muscle on the lower body. And that's what we're seeing across the board. So I'll be reviewing every competition that goes. If you have any you want me to do yours, I'm not only doing the pros, I'm doing amateurs, let me know. Drop in the comments. I'll put it on the channel. Thank you for watching again. And seriously, if you have not checked out my free trial, it is so much more beneficial than what you can watch on YouTube. Go check it out. TeamFFLEX.com/7-day trial. Thank you for watching. Coach Ryan is out.